It is genuinely
That is
like
true.
it should be 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and it starts with 6.
I think, yeah, it should be an odd number. I find like odd numbers work better. Do you know what I mean? I don't know
I
what
like
it is.
5. 5, maybe 7 would work. 7, 6, 5, or just start with 10. That gives you plenty of time.
Yeah, yeah, a 10 or a 5. It can't be anything in between, I don't think.
um, Welcome to the extraordinary experience. I changed the name. What do you think of it? It's gone from the ordinary
Yeah,
experience to the extraordinary experience. I feel like it kind of encapsulates what we're doing here a lot better because we're talking to people doing extraordinary things rather than the ordinary experience has got a little bit of a less of a sex appeal to it, I think. And so the extraordinary experience gives you the
mm,
mandate to kind of go in and go and find these ordinary people doing extraordinary things.
I like it. I love it actually because actually that's what you're doing. You're talking to people that do things that aren't the ordinary, and that's what your USP is. So no, I love it. Love
I
the change.
appreciate it. I just need to. Do you know any good logo makers?
Actually,
You
I
do?
do. I do. My cousin's a graphic designer. I've got a really good friend of mine also who is a graphic designer. So yeah, I'd be happy to put you in touch.
Absolutely, yeah.
Let's get this
Most
going.
definitely. You're gonna give it some slickness to it instead of this like circle with
Yeah.
this like blue and pink background that I picked off of Canva.
Oh, a rebrand is always like a breath of fresh air, I
It
think.
is, it
So
is.
yeah, do
And you know
it.
what? What's weird is I only rebranded it like maybe 7 episodes ago, but those 7 episodes or maybe 10 episodes feel like an eternity. Genuinely, it feels like it's been
Yeah.
a year or 2 years, and I'm just like, well, I need something that I can truly get behind, like truly sits right with me.
Yeah. You'll find it. Search deep and you'll
Yeah,
find
do
it.
a lot of meditation. Just literally sit there thinking about it. Like go to
Soul
sleep, wake up. The
search.
ordinary experience doesn't work. But seeing as we're on the extraordinary experience, and you are an extraordinary individual, let's start with like give us a little background
Thank
about who
you.
you are, what you do. You know, I know a lot because we've been in contact back and forth over the last couple of months. We've developed a lovely relationship. Um, but I think from the first moment that I met you, there was a spark of energy that I kind of I noticed and was like, this woman's different. She does something different here than the normal South Asian normal woman does. Then your kind of life script is
Oh, I love
different
that. Thank you.
to the societal life
hmm
script that women follow, that people of your age follow, that humans follow. You're kind of doing a lot of things in a very small space of time. So talk to me about that.
Yeah, so thank you, firstly. That's very kind of you to say. I love that thing about energy. I'm very much into that whole energy field, and I love like putting good energy out there. So that's what you get back, right? But no, thank you for that. I appreciate that. But yeah, so I'm all about following my dreams. I think I do a lot of different things, like you said, and it's all because it's just about following a goal that I have. So my 9 to 5, I work in finance, and that's something that I've kind of done for years. Actually, that was sort of my passion from back when I was young. And I guess the acting side of things, I started again when I was very young, but it was very much a hobby. And I guess through life experience and as you know, it kind of gets in the way sometimes. But I got into a space where I just thought, this is my passion. And over the last few years, I've really sort of actively pursued it a lot more, and I found a lot more opportunities come my way. And now I'm pursuing that a lot more, putting a lot more time and effort and energy into it because that is actually what I want to do in the future. So yeah, looking to sack off the day job for the dream job at some point. But aside from that as well, I do run a property business, which kind of runs itself
Yeah.
now. So I kind of started building that when I was 19. And I guess being Asian, the whole property thing, it kind of just was very much in our DNA. And like my parents kind of did a lot with that anyway. So it was very much something that I wanted to continue doing. So yeah, did so I've set all of that up, but that very much runs itself. So it doesn't really take much of my time at the moment. And then, yes, I work with a film production company as a head of client relations. So very much on the creative side of filming. So I love being in front of the camera, but actually I want to learn and build my knowledge on what happens behind the camera. So that kind of gives me another string to work with. So yeah, busy bee to say the least, as you know.
No, look, it's insane. I've got a lot of admiration for the fact that you do so much. Like, why? Like, why did you take on so much? Like, I don't understand. Why not just stick with one or two things and kind of go deep in that? Why do you spread yourself kind of wide and try and go deep on everything?
Yeah, to be honest, I do. Like I focus my attention on things that are important. So, for example, like the acting side and the production side is definitely where I'm putting most of my energy into at the moment. But it's just because I can't sit still. In all fairness, I have to keep doing. Like I'm addicted to growth, and I know that sounds a little bit cliche, but I genuinely am. Like I need to keep doing something to push me forward, to like learn new things, do something different, and just keep my brain occupied. Like I can't sit and do nothing. Like we had a conversation the other day where we spoke about sometimes if you've got an evening where you just want to sit and watch a film, and then you're like, actually, I could be doing this or something else, and your mind's just constantly ticking, and I guess that's just what I'm like. So I'm always thinking of new ways to make money, be creative, and just kind of build. That's just what I love.
Which one out of everything that you do is your favorite? Like, which one do you kind of hold dearly in your heart?
That acting, 100%.
How did that start? Like acting.
Yeah.
How does someone get into acting?
So I started modelling when I was about 16, and I guess throughout the years I built up quite a big network actually in terms of just building contacts in the industry. And I think a lot of the industry is as such that you need to kind of be doing that. And I did it for a hobby, and actually sometimes I wish, should I pursued it a bit more full time back then? I could have been in a different space now, but I guess the universe had other plans, but I guess I just really was relentless with it, more so over the last few years. So before I was quite passive. So if a job came my way, then I would take it, have a look at it, and do it that way. But I'm just relentless with it now. So I've got my goals, my vision, and where I want that career to go, and just taking active steps towards it now. So that is definitely the passion, because I think it's like the highest form of empathy actually when I'm acting. That's what I love about it. Because when you have all these different characters, for me, how I do it is I like to find a piece of myself in that character and portray it as I would do myself, because I think that's the most natural way of doing it. So in order to do that, you really have to unearth, it's not about just going and saying lines, but what does that person feel like? Who are they? What situations have they been? Why are they the way that they are? And I love to think about all of that, because no matter who's watching, whatever you're playing, someone out there is going to resonate with that. And I think if you can start to understand different situations and elements that people have been in, then you can understand people better. So that's why I think it's like the highest form of empathy. And I love that I've got the opportunity to do that.
Why? Why when you're acting, do you kind of like give so much to it? In terms of like, do you become the other person? Do you become the character, or are you very, very kind of aware of the fact that there's Tina and then there's the character?
You have to immerse yourself in it. I like doing that because I think that's the only way you can really bring it to life. And I mean, you get the opportunity to be someone completely different for a day or a week or a month or whatever. So yeah, I love it, and you can bring your own flair to it. And as you know, I love kind of bringing that kind of creativity and different side of everyone's multifaceted, right? So I love bringing it to it. I think it's a fun thing to do.
What's it like working on a like a set? How does it work? I've never been on a set. I've never been around a set, never been anywhere near a set, but it's always something that's intrigued me. Because you see the round table conversations that people have on, like with Christopher Nolan and whatever, right? And then all the interviews afterwards, but it's never the same. Or you see the kind of the behind the scenes stuff, but it never gets you there when the character or when the actor or actress is in that moment creating that scene, that empathetic scene, that action scene or whatever, right? So what's it like being on set?
Yeah. Oh, it's so much fun. It's my favorite time actually in anything that I do. All my jobs that I do, like that is my favorite time, because you get to meet and speak to so many lovely people, and I think it's just so much fun. I think when it comes to the serious part of it though, that can be a little bit intense. So, for example, I recently had to do something where I had a real intense character where I had to cry for like the entire day. And you know what I'm like normally, I'm very happy, bubbly. So that was quite difficult for me. So I literally just had to lock myself away and was like, no one talk to me for like at least an hour before. Let me just get into that space, that zone, and kind of portray all of that. So it's two sides really. Sometimes it can be like really fun when you're doing active, you know, fun things. But yeah, when it gets serious, it's kind of like, right, everyone just needs to, you know, get the shot, get what we need to get done. But then after that, as soon as the shot's done, I'm like jumping around all over the place again. So, but it's fun. I'm gonna take you behind the scenes with me one day. Actually, I think that would be
That
quite
would be
fun to do, whether it's in
awesome.
person or virtually. I'm gonna do a little vlog for you
That
actually, so you
sounds
can see
so
what
cool.
actually
That
happened. It's
sounds
so
so
much
cool.
fun.
We could maybe do like a GQ 73 questions as you're like preparing for all your scenes and stuff.
Yes.
Make that into a whole
Oh, I
YouTube video.
love that.
That'd be quite cool. What, so like
Okay, I'm
as an
getting you on set.
actress, have you ever been in a situation where you have to kind of like do a romantic scene with another actress, another guy, another actor? What actually
Mm.
happens? Like, are there these untold
So.
rules in the acting world that, like, because I've seen it on the net. Like, I think John Boyega was saying that, like, when you kiss someone,
Mhm.
if you kiss them intensely, it's like you're telling them in that moment that you like them, that you're attracted to them, and then these unwritten rules of the acting world. Like, have you come across that? What's it like?
I have actually. Yeah, I've had to do romantic scenes before, but I think you have to build a relationship with someone that you're going to be working with. Like you have to feel comfortable, right? And to be honest, because for me, I see it as work. So it depends what it is. Like obviously, I've got there's boundaries and there's limits to what you're prepared to do. But no, I think it's it comes as part of the job sometimes. But again, you've just got to set your own limits and what you're comfortable with doing. And actually, it's having that open and honest conversation with the director to say, look, I understand your vision, but this is where my limits lie or whatever. So yeah, as long as you've been open and honest about it, I think it's fine. But yeah, I think it's just part of the job. And you know, if they're hot, then why not? I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. But yeah, no, I don't really have a problem with it. Dependent on what it is and how
Do
far they
you
want me to
like the
go.
first time you ever had to do it? Was
It's
it
fun.
quite uneasy, or did you just kind of just get straight into it?
A little bit uneasy because you've got like a whole ton of people watching you, right? Like you've got the whole crew as well. So you're mindful of that because obviously when you're in a romantic situation in your personal life, you generally don't have an
Yeah.
audience. Um, so yeah, it is a little bit daunting, but then you just kind of immerse yourself in it anyway. Because like after the like first take or whatever, you're in that zone, you're in that kind of whole space, you're comfortable with the person that you're with,
Do you have
so
a
you just kind of get on
conversation
with it, and
with the
it's just
partner,
the
so
job.
with the actor or the actress? Do you have a conversation, like, do you specifically have a conversation with them and be like, look, this is what I'm thinking of for this particular scene. Are you on board with that?
Yeah,
So you have to do you choose to have
100%.
those
Yeah,
conversations then?
yeah, always. So the great thing that I love actually is that every set that I've been on, you know, thankfully, it's all been like a little family. So everyone's really open and honest about, you know, what their thoughts and feelings are about certain things. And actually, where if I think I can change something up, or actually we can change the scene, or I could do something differently here, then I'll speak to the other, you know, cast members or the director to say, I think this would work better. Let's give it a go. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But at least we've kind of tried it. So yeah, it's open and honest like that, which I really love. I mean, I have worked with people in the past where it has been very rigid, and I find that quite difficult because, like I said, when you immerse yourself into a character or a situation or a scene, you want to kind of bring yourself to it to make it more natural. And if you don't have the ability to do that, I think that can be a sticky
What
point
do you mean
sometimes.
by bring
But
yourself to it?
um, so, for example, if I had to do a crying scene recently, right? Like I said, so I really kind of delved deep into pain that I felt in my life, and just played it like it was me in that situation. So I don't think I'm X character. You do to an extent, but you have to bring your own real emotions to
Right.
it, to be able to portray it. And I think that's the kind of difference when you're kind of bringing yourself and playing somebody else. You've got to find that one common ground, or that little strand that sits between both.
And do you have to go searching for that, or is that something that you can just switch on and off now?
Now I find it easier. I can switch it on and off a little bit more easier. But yeah, it's just like you have to just get your. I just lock myself away. I listen to music a lot actually. So dependent on what I'm playing, whether it's happy, sad music, whatever, music's like my biggest thing to get me into a mood for
Okay.
something. Um, so yeah, I use that to then channel whatever I need to be, and then just embrace it and go and be that person. It's
How,
amazing.
yeah, so you talked about being on the other side of the camera now. And how long have you been
Yes.
acting? I actually don't know this.
Oh God, probably on and off for about 15
Okay,
years
so wow, that's a long
ish.
time.
But yeah, but then in saying that, like I said, it was like just a hobby where I was doing like little things before. But yeah, no, I've done a lot in terms of like TV commercial videos, films, that sort of thing, and worked with some very famous people, which
Can you
has
tell
been
which
amazing
famous
too.
people?
Like Hrithik Roshan was one in the whole Bollywood scene. So if you know, then you know, like he's a pretty big deal. So I was like the lead in this TV commercial that I did with him. So I mean, it's great to be able to have the opportunity to do that, really. So I love
That's really cool. Oh, that is really cool.
it.
What's it like working with him?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, they're quite down to earth. And I guess once you're, because like I said, it's like a family, isn't it? So I have met people in the past mentioning their names, that are a little awkward sometimes, but but I think it's important to have that kind of vibe on set because you're all kind of, working to create something
Hmm.
amazing. So you want to have that niceness in it. I think it's a cool thing to have.
I can't imagine what it'd
So
be like sitting in front of like someone that you've grown up watching, right? Like Hrithik Roshan
I
is an
know.
incredible, Bollywood actor. I'm not sure if he's world renowned like some of the other ones, but massive, massive amounts of people follow him in Asia.
Hmm.
As a fan of him, I just kind of lose my shit right there, and then I'd be like, "What the hell is going on?"
You have to be like really cool though, because you can't be like
Did
fangirling
you
everyone that you
fangirl
meet, because
like
then you'll
with
just
with
be like,
with these actors and actresses that you've met? Did you fangirl initially and then kind of just like slip into, okay, we got work to do?
yeah, yeah. I mean, to be honest, it's very professional on set as well. Like we have a laugh, but then you're all there for a job as well. Do you know what I mean? Like it's so you're not like if you saw them down the street, it'll be a different story. You'd be like, oh hey, can I have your autograph and all of this sort of stuff. But actually on set, it does feel a little bit different because I think you're there as a co-star. You're not there as a just someone that you're obsessed
Yeah,
with.
okay, I understand. What's
Do you
what's
know
it
what I
been
mean?
like on
But
the
it's still nice
what's
to
it
be
been
able to have
like
the
on the other side of the
conversation.
camera these days? Because you said you were getting into
Oh,
understanding, what goes on when you're not on camera. How's that been and that learning curve?
yeah, I actually really love it. It's a lot more harder than you think. 'Cause I think, a lot of people kind of see things like this on the face of it and think, you just come on camera, kind of do your thing and then leave. There's a lot that goes into the preparation, the production side, even like, for actors themselves. But I think, it's definitely been a massive learning curve. There's a hell of a lot that I need to learn in that space. Just even when it comes down to, like things like the way the lighting is or different angles. Like it can change the entire shot. It can change the entire mood, the vibe of what you're trying to film. So yeah, I'm trying to just really kind of immerse myself into that kind of space and just understand different ways of doing things. And when you do things, that when you film something, um, I think, yeah, just the way you kind of switch it all up in terms of the angles and just the way it is a lot to learn. And so many terms that are being thrown at me, and I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about, but I'm going to go Google that later, and then we can work on it next
I
time.
like it. Are you
So
planning on making
yeah,
a directorial debut at any point?
I would love to actually. I love to write as well. So I definitely want to have something written for this year. It's my aim to do that 100%. So I'm in conversation with a few people to bring that to
Right.
life. So I've got some good opportunities there. So I just want to really kind of immerse myself into that and explore it because I think writing, I love writing. It's just such a great way to get out your emotions, get out what you're thinking, feeling, and just you can literally make it whatever the hell you want it to be. So
Have
yeah, I
you have
love
you got a
that.
script that you're writing at the moment that you can talk about?
I have got something that I've started to write, but it's not anywhere near ready yet. I've literally just got a bit of a skeleton at the moment, but I'm sure I'll run it by you when it's ready, so you can critique it. So yeah, I'm hoping to have that ready for year end and see what we can do with it in terms of where that can go. So I'm excited for that for sure.
That's really cool.
So
so you
yeah.
you started in front of the camera, and now like it's not taken that long to get on the other side of the camera. Now you're doing both of it. Would you ever put yourself in a position where
Mhm.
you're acting and directing at the same time?
That would be really hard to do. Although I do want to star in it
Yeah.
because I feel if I've written it, then I want to do it justice. So yeah, I would want to star in it. But in terms of like having a production team, I've got a team that I work very closely with. So that's all fine. But it's just kind of getting it all finalized and ready to kind of be in a space to film. So it's a long way off yet, but we work. We're gonna get there.
You, you mentioned like that last bit is something I want to talk about. You're always
Go on.
grinding, right? And there's this
Yeah.
grind culture and this like hustle culture. Do you fall into that? And would you associate yourself with that? Because for me, I find myself, I used to kind of really be into that world, but then I realized that you can't work yourself to death. You've got to make sure that you got to take time out. And I'm the
Mm.
worst person when it comes to that. I'll preach it to the choir, but sometimes when I look at myself, I'm like, yeah, but you don't take your own advice. How do you manage everything? Like, you do so much, and you still have this hustle culture. You still have this like hustle mentality. Like, what keeps you ticking?
It's growth. It's when I see the fruits of my labor, that is what keeps me motivated, I think. And everything that I'm doing now, it's like planting seeds, isn't it? They're never going to grow
Mm.
overnight, and you have to keep working at something to kind of bring it to fruition. So the hustle culture, yeah, I know. I mean, it's talked about a lot, isn't it? And I think there's a fine balance to be had because the whole burnout thing, I don't think it's something that should be glorified. In the sense that yes, absolutely work for your goals and be obsessed with them, like I'm obsessed
I
with
like that
mine.
obsession. I'm
Um,
very for that. Like,
yeah,
and people think that
you're
being obsessed is
right.
a problem, but you can be obsessed about the right things, and if they're in line with your principles, your goals,
Yeah.
and things that you want to achieve, that's great.
Mm, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's the only kind of way you're gonna get to where you want to be in life. And I don't listen to what anyone's got to say anymore. I literally live on my own terms and do what I want. And there's always going to be people that are telling me that, Tina, you're crazy for thinking this, or why are you doing that? And that's a really silly idea. But for me, I'm gonna jump in both feet first and see what happens. Like if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But at least I tried. That's the way I've always been. I'm a massive risk taker like that. Calculated risks, to an extent. But I think I just go for it, and that's what keeps me going. The hustle thing, um, I think it's important to have an element of it. Like if you've got a dream, you've got your goals and your
Mm.
visions, then why would you not want to put everything into it? Like that's just the way I see it. And there's things that I'll sacrifice, like whether it's going out or whatever. I choose very wisely, like where I put my energy, and it's into the things that I want to achieve in life. Like I do have fun, obviously. I've got my friends and family that I hang with and stuff like that. But when it comes to getting the job done, then that's my main priority. Selfishly, sometimes, but
What's
it's
made
got to be
you
done.
what's made you kind of make that switch? Because not everyone, blah, 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 I can't even speak. Not everyone makes that decision so quickly, right? And it's kind of like you flip back and forth. Like I know
Mm,
that I do. Like I'll go into my little hibernation hole and I'm like, let's get on, let's crack on. And then,
yeah, yeah,
2 months into it, I'll be like, wait, I haven't seen anyone. I haven't talked to anyone. I haven't conversed with anyone aside
yeah.
from the people that I'm constantly conversing with. So
Mhm.
what actually made you make that switch? What was can you pinpoint it for me? Like, I know it's a deep
I guess
question, like the moment that happened,
it
because
is a deep
you've been doing it for so
question.
long. That's why I'm so curious.
Yeah. Do you know? I think it comes down to me almost taking my power back in a sense. And I mean that in a way where before I'd just be so for other people, and I still am. Like I've got my circle that I'm so down for, and vice versa. But I think I always like my intentions are always pure when I do something for someone. Like I'll do something for someone and not expect anything
Right.
back. But I never used to get that back. Not when I say that, I never used to get that intention back, like that pure intention back. And I think it got to a point where I just thought, whatever I'm doing for myself and others, like it was all like everything that I did was for other people, which I still do now, but I think about it more consciously in the sense that if it's not making me happy, whatever it is, then I'm not going to invest my energy into it.
Right.
Um, and that comes across quite selfish, I know, but I don't mean it in a selfish way.
You just kind of
I think
protect
I
your
just have to
energy.
be more.
You
Say
kind of
that
just
again.
protect your energy.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it, actually. I definitely protect my energy. So I think that's when the switch kind of came because, like, I always come from a place of authenticity and I never used to get that back. So now I just think, well, I'm always going to be like that to other people. I'll always be good to them and whatever. If I don't get that back, then that's on you. And, karma's got everyone's number. So, hey. um,
Do you believe in karma?
but I think 100%. I'm such a big believer in all of that. Like,
What do you mean
that's
by
why
what
I'm
do you mean by
so
all of that?
like karma, the whole universe, and what you put out is what you ultimately get back. And I think even on a subconscious level, I've always thought it before I even consciously thought about it, if that makes
Right.
sense. So I've always believed that everything happens for a reason and nothing happens by coincidence. Like everything is orchestrated for your highest good, and I genuinely believe that. So that's the kind of energy that I like putting out now. And so far so good.
And so
Touch
you
wood,
and you
it's all
receive it
working in
back
my
as well.
favor.
And you believe you receive it back.
Yeah, 100%. Like there's situations that have happened in my life that I think, where you just think that how did that
Mm.
happen? And like certain turn of events that or chain of events that will happen, and you just think there's got to be something behind this, and it all kind of happens for your greater good, and then you end up finding yourself in a situation where you're 100 times better, and you think, okay, that had to happen. Like yes, it was a difficult time in my life, but actually it had to happen. And that kind of restored my faith and made me believe it even more. And I guess that's like kind of switch for me where I think, okay, now I need to protect my energy and do the right kind of positive things to achieve what I want to achieve, and the rest will fall into place. Like I genuinely trust and believe in what the future holds
So
for me, and what I want I will
do you put
get.
your hands in? Do you put your? Sorry, let me rephrase that. Do you put the things that you're doing in
And
the hands of someone else and the success of it, or do you take that upon yourself to be like, I'm gonna make this. I'm gonna take this opportunity.
me.
You take. Okay, go, go.
I don't ever put anything in anyone else's hands. Yeah, not anything. And that's just because like you can't ever base what you do on somebody else, right? You have to kind of work for things yourself. I'm incredibly independent, as you know, and I kind of like that because then I'm kind of almost in control of that
Mm-hmm.
situation and my destiny almost, Do you believe in it?
Believe in what?
Like karma, the universe, all of that sort of
Me,
stuff.
you know what I do. But not in the way. I guess it is in the way that like it's described. Like I don't believe in it in this kind of spiritual way, so to speak. I do think that things come back round. Like everything comes
Mhm.
back round. Everything in life is a cycle, just different sizes of the cycle. And so I definitely believe in karma in that sense. Like if you do something to someone, it's gonna come back to you at some point, just in a different way. Yeah, because you're putting out that energy out,
100%.
and it's not. And if it's
Mhm.
negative energy, it's gonna come back round, and then you're gonna be living in that kind of cycle of energy, and it's just it doesn't really sit right with me doing that type of stuff. So I try and put out good energy when I can, and try and lead a life that is positive growth orientated with regards to everything else in the universe and all of that. Yeah, I guess I do. I think that people function on different wavelengths, and that's kind of my go-to. And it's like we're vibing on the same wavelength right now. And when we first met, we were vibing on the same wavelength. And sometimes people move away from those wavelengths, but that's all right. But I have got to the point right now where sometimes shit hits the fan and I'm like, oh, geez, I was waiting for this to happen. Why is this happening now? Like, I smashed my phone screen and then my monitor has decided to develop some sort of issue. So like when bad things happen, they all happen at the same time. I'm just like, oh, Jesus, come on, man. Like,
but hey, I think it happened for a reason. Because it's telling you to get some news.
In the moment, you've kind of got to look. You got to step.
Step
back and be like, why is this happening? Like some things are so out of your control. Like the screen, it wasn't my fault. It's just the product itself has got a fault. It's just the hassle of it, and that's what I don't like. I don't like hassle of things that shouldn't. Things should work, I assume, and sometimes you put so much emphasis on the fact that they should just always work. You forget the fact that it's just a piece of technology that has the ability to break just like anything else. And you always like when you're.
But hey, it's an excuse to get a new one.
No, it's not an excuse. It's a bloody expensive monitor, man. I haven't got the funds for that.
Yeah, but come on, maybe you need an upgrade.
This is the upgrade. This is the upgrade. It's the upgrade of all upgrades. Well, maybe not all upgrades, but yeah. So sometimes when I look at life and I look at things that are happening in my life, I think sometimes shit hits the fan and it all happens all at once. And just before shit hits the fan, there will be this kind of like weird space that I'm in where I notice that things have gone on good for too long, and I'm like, something bad's about to happen. I don't know what it is and what the definition of that bad is, but there's going to be a downturn. And
do you feel it? Yeah, like, sometimes your intuition kicks in and you like feel it.
Exactly that. I had a conversation with a friend of mine, Musin, and when I was in India, I was coming back from yoga classes and we were just talking and he was like, things for me have gone on too long, like too good for too long. Something bad's about to happen. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, it's been like that for me as well right now. I kid you not, the next day I was in lockdown. And it's just one of those things where you're like, 1 + 1 = 2. I can't confirm that was the bad thing that happened. I can't confirm that, me feeling that resulted in it happening. But, sometimes there's coincidence and then sometimes you feel something coming along and you're like, you know what, I'm going to have to take this on the chin. I'm going to have to roll with the punches and come out the other end. And I do that a lot. Yeah. For the last couple months, despite having COVID, it's been a good ride. Like I've had my ups, I've had my downs. I got to this point where I wasn't enjoying what I was doing. Like I know you enjoy your acting like massively. You enjoy your modeling. You enjoy everything that you do. But I'm on this weird journey of finding what I enjoy and what I don't enjoy. And I thought I had it down to a T that doing YouTube in this kind of like sitting format where it's super sustainable would be something that I enjoy. I don't. I kind of like it was getting boring spending 12 hours just churning out these videos and from end to end and then doing all the reels and all the social media content. And that was just getting to a point where I was like, I like the topic. I just don't enjoy creating this type of content. So I've got to shift. And now it's like, okay, so how do I use what I've got? Maybe buy a little bit here and there and turn this into something that I'm going to enjoy or potentially enjoy. And that's all I can ask for, right? I can only try. So instead of sitting on my ass and not doing anything, I mean, I'm co-producing a comedy gig now, and that's been an incredible experience. Sometimes I think like, where do I add value? And it's this constant battle with myself of like, what can I do more? What can we do more to push the boundaries of this, right? Like not just make it a comedy gig, but make it larger than life. Make it an experience with people and turn it into these businesses that I've got in my head. And then obviously the podcast and this platform of the extraordinary experience is I'm going to get the name's going to take a while to click in. But that for me has been like, for the last month, I haven't done any. Jumped on a call with someone to have an intro chat and I was like, I've got butterflies. Like, this is great. I'm back out. I'm pushing myself again. This is great.
Oh, good.
But sometimes I feel that, I'm not doing enough. So I go through these like ups and downs of, I'm not doing enough, let's add stuff in. Oh, I'm doing too much, let's take something away. And it's got finding the balance of it all. And then social life, to be perfectly honest, I spend my time with like two other guys, and that's about
Yeah.
it. Like, what's your take on the whole concept of you are the average of the people you spend the people you spend your time with?
Oh my. Oh wow, that's quite interesting. I've never heard it put like that before.
Well,
Um,
it's like you are the average of the
I
closest
was,
five people that you spend your time with.
yeah, I think you are like your circle. You become your circle, I think. And you have to, like, for me, my circle's incredibly varied. I mean, I've got all sorts of people in mind, like in my closest anyway. Only because you learn so much from each other, and I think we all have a similar mindset of growth, pushing each other, and we'll always be each other's cheerleaders, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. But in the best way possible. So I think it's incredibly important to have great people. But in terms of being the average of it, I mean, I always like being alpha, just saying. but
No, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that.
but
What do you mean?
I was joking. I was just being
No, you
cheeky.
definitely weren't. You definitely weren't. What do you mean by that?
I think I like to be that person that pushes everyone in my
Right.
circle. Like I like to, not for any other reason apart from the fact that I just want to see them win. Do you know what I mean? So that's what I always do. And like whether it be like my girls or like my guy friends, they're always just like they always kind of come to me when not just when they need something or like need to kind of a bit of a pep talk, but just when it's kind of like even just like share good news and they're like, Tina, like you said this to me or like you helped me with this and it's inspired me to do this. Do you know what I mean? And that makes me feel just yeah empowered. I feel amazing when I hear stuff like that because it's like me making a positive difference to someone else's life and I love
Does that
that.
happen often?
Yeah, actually, and I don't mean to blow my own trumpet with that, and it's from a place of confidence, not arrogance, but only because it does actually, and I'm not consciously doing anything different. I think I'm just being there for my people. Like, it's as simple as that. Like, there's nothing extra to
Right.
it at all.
Do you
Yeah,
so
and
you
I
don't
love that.
consciously do it, but it happens anyway? Do you ever kind of like do you reflect on that? Do you kind of sit there and go, actually, wow, this is incredible. I have my closest friends coming up to me and being like, "You've changed my life," like ever so often. Like you,
Yeah, even people that I don't know
no
actually.
way.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, and I don't even know how that happens. But I was going to make a point actually about what you were saying with oh my God, what were you saying about when you were hanging with Muz and like the
Oh, when
boys when
shit
you
hits the
were
fan.
the split week? Yeah, and you have that reflection point. That's what I was going to say. The biggest growth happens, I think, when when you said you were kind of like struggling with like the content piece and like what do you want to do and all of that sort of stuff. I think that's when your biggest growth piece happens because it forces you to come out of like complacency and really kind of think about what you're doing. And I think that is my reflection. I do constantly, and I've had. I have like my good days like 95% of the
Mm,
time, and then I'll have my 5% of days where I genuinely am like, what am I doing in life? Like, am I doing the right thing? And I have that, okay, why am I feeling like this? And then it's just like remembering that things are, if something isn't going my way or something has gone wrong, then it's not happening to me, it's happening for me.
right.
So there's something to be learned out of that experience, and how do I then, kind of reflect on it and change it? So just that reflection bit, I just wanted to touch on what you said about, kind of when you're in that space of not being able to kind of figure out where your content's at or just whatever, like how you then switch it up. And that's your biggest growth period,
It's
I
like
think.
it's this weird spot of figuring out where to allocate time, right? Because
Mm,
when I look at certain things, I sometimes I do things blindly, and sometimes I do things in this way
yeah.
that's like, what's the long-term vision of it? And for the comedy gig, it's like there's a long-term vision that I see that I've drawn out and been like, there's this that we can create that feeds into this, that feeds into this. Um,
Hmm.
but with the podcast, it's very much like it's not day to day, but there is a vision of what I'd want out of it and what I'd want to create, and this kind of platform where we can tell extraordinary stories. You can do something, you can
Mm,
push the boundaries of what a typical
yeah.
audio experience looks like. Just on Spotify or just like sit down talking. We can really kind of change that into something that's more immersive, so to speak. But with the
Hmm.
YouTube side of stuff, it's like I've just got to kind of throw shit at the wall and see what sticks for the time being. You know, if I don't do it, I'm gonna regret not doing it. Like I enjoy cars. I
Hmm.
enjoy things with engines. Um, I feel like
Me too.
it's great, right? Like it for me, it kind of taps into my soul a little bit, and so
Yeah.
I want to do stuff like that. I see an opening for a type of content that doesn't exist at this moment in time, and I'm like, we're going to this stage where the cars don't have souls, and these automobiles are going to basically become defunct and they're going to drive themselves. I quite like the immersive driving experience of cars from the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, where it's the driver that's doing the thing, and I'm just like, if I don't
Yeah.
create some content around this, even if it costs me 80 quid just to get a mount for the camera, I'm going to regret it long term. So I've got to try at least.
100%. Yeah, do it. We spoke about this, didn't we? And I 100% I think you should go for it. Definitely. If you need a host or presenter, then voila.
I need some cameramen. That's what I need. Like everything that I'm thinking about, like even with this, and I'm like, I need a couple cameramen. I don't really want to do it vlog style. So, and I'm apprehensive about that. I'm apprehensive about reaching out to people because I'm a bit like, what if the vision isn't there? Like I don't know how to edit. I don't know how to do this. But then on the other end of the spectrum, I'm like, yeah, but what have you got to lose? Like just because you don't know how to do
Yeah,
it, don't
exactly.
do
Why do
it.
you have
You
these
don't need to do
limiting?
it, right? Just because you don't know how to do it doesn't mean that you don't do it. Just because you don't know how to do it, you bring someone in that does, and they go, actually, this will work. This won't work.
Yeah, get someone or learn it. I mean, I mean, people do stuff like that all day long. Like if they can, you can, is the way I see it. So yeah, do it. I'm excited to see it.
I'm excited. I'm
Hurry
excited.
up.
I need to buy them now. So I bought the wrong one. I bought the
Yeah.
one that goes on paintwork and not on glass. And I was a little bit scared that if I put it on glass, I was going to take the whole windscreen off.
Yeah.
So it's not the best
Oh
of
God.
ideas, but it's a work in progress. It's something that I've got to try just for my own sanity because I've got this kind of this free
Hmm.
time where we're not doing anything. I'm not doing anything with it, and I'm like, okay, how can I fill that, but also make it productive in a way that I'm also allocating time to these other businesses or other things that I'm doing because I treat my side
Yeah.
hustles as my main hustles. Everything that you do, I assume
Hmm.
there aren't side hustles just because you've got a 9 to 5. They are things that you dedicate your time to in the same capacity that you would do your 9 to 5.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is relentless. Like I mean, like yeah, the 9 to 5, and then as
What's
soon as
your
like
take on
that
the nine to
work
five?
finishes, it's on to the next
Have you
thing.
ever enjoyed it?
Say
What's
that
your
again.
take on the 9 to 5? Have you ever enjoyed it?
I
The
did. I
concept,
do. I
the
do. I do love
concept of a
my.
9 to 5. I'm not talking specifically about your job,
Oh,
but like
this is about the
the
job.
context,
Um,
the concept of a 9 to 5 of working between those 2 hours and then like the rest of it's your life.
yeah, I mean, I know it's what we have to do, and it's what the majority of everyone, that's what they have to do, but I don't agree with it because there's so many things that you are destined for in life, and I feel like that kind of takes it away. Like, yeah, we've got bills to pay, and I know that's the like means to do it, but there's things like I think lockdown in a lot of ways has been a good thing in the sense that I think it's given for those that for certain people it's kind of given them a lot more time. I certainly know that a lot of people that I'm speaking to, where they've been working from home and that sort of thing, and had the opportunity to do so, they've just got a lot more time for family or like going to the gym or just spending a little bit more time on themselves. So I think that gets lost when you're in that rat race. And that whole thing about when people want to plan for retirement at 65, like why are you doing that? Why are you planning for something in X number of years when A, you don't even know what's going to happen that far in the future, and why would you not do something now in the time that you do have to build so you can have that financial freedom in 5 years time? Like why do you want to wait until you're 65? Like I can't get my head around that. Like I don't understand when people are like, I'm planning for my
So
pension.
would you give some tips on what you think people could do in terms of you're a woman in a position where she's doing a lot, right? You're not spread thin, but you're spread across a lot of different things, right? What's your advice to someone wanting to get into a position like you?
I think you've just got to be very I think it's first and foremost, you've got to find your passion in life. I think there's no point doing a job or doing something if you don't genuinely feel a passion
What
for it.
what
Um,
do you do to find a passion? Like I've got my way of doing that, but it might be different to your way of doing it.
yeah. So for me, like when I knew what mine was, I think you have to soul search and find what makes you happy. Like, what do you do that doesn't feel like work? Do you know what I mean? When it starts feeling like work, it starts feeling like a laborious task, and you're just kind of doing it for the sake of it. I think that that's not your passion. If you genuinely love doing something, that's what it is, and it could be absolutely anything. I mean, like the other, sometimes I'm working till like 3, 4 o'clock, or like on set until like 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. I don't see that as work, like that, and that genuinely does happen. And I don't see that as work because it's just doing something that I love. At the end of it, so that I think that's when you identify your passion. I think you've got to get clear on that. And once you've kind of got that clarity, you've really got to kind of build your habits, build your knowledge like around that thing, perfect your craft. I wrote about this the other day actually, and just build consistent habits. I think you've got to be really happy within your mind, body, and
Right.
soul. I think it's so important to like as you know, like I train often, like every day at like 6 in the morning, and which is like the best thing to do to get my mental headspace right for my
For
day,
me,
and I
it's
like kind of plan my day
some sort of
meticulously.
exercise is so important to the body. I did yoga for a year. It's something I
Yeah,
love talking about.
yeah,
But now I've gone back to weight
mhm,
training, and I'm trying to incorporate both into my routine. And I start with yoga as kind of the stretching practice, um, and then
yeah,
move to the weight stuff because I want to build a physique that I I feel comfortable in, something that I want to achieve, right?
mm,
Um, and so that kind of like push yourself, that mental stress that you put the body
yeah,
under, the mind under, I
mhm,
think is so important at the beginning. Well, not even at the beginning of a day, but just like you've got to do it at some point during a day, whether it's running, cardio, whatever, right?
100%.
Like I feel it puts you at peak performance.
Because I think
It
it
really does help.
100%. I think when you've got that kind of mental clarity, I think it does boost everything else that you do. It influences the choices that you make in the day as well. Like for example, if I haven't trained, then I might make a food choice that's not great, for example. Not that I do that very often, but that could be the case. But because I'm very much, if I'm on this thing where I've like trained well, I have to eat well. Like for me, it goes hand in hand, for example. So I just think whatever your particular situation might be personally, you just make better choices when you feel happy within your mind, body, and your soul. Your passion keeps your soul happy. You've got to keep your mind happy through building knowledge and kind of having that thirst to learn. And your body happy by just exercising and keeping it in the healthiest way possible. And only then are you going to be able to kind of achieve what you want to achieve and kind of really go for it because you're
Mm.
ready. Um, so yeah, I think yes. So yeah, back to your original kind of question around the tips. I think it's yeah, find your passion, build your knowledge, and just keep your mind, body, and soul happy, and just be relentless with it. I mean, people are always gonna
Obsessive with it.
come and tell you that you're doing something wrong, and they've not walked in your shoes. They don't understand the kind of things that you've been through. So if I just think I believe very much in live and let live. If you have a passion and a fire for something, then go and do it, and I'll absolutely support it.
Definitely. With regards to the passion thing, I go a step further and I'd be
Mm.
like, if you need to soul search, I agree. Tap into the things
Mhm.
that make you happy, but then people's happinesses are different, right? And so I go a step deeper and
A
I'm
hundred
like,
percent.
find something that you're curious about. Start with that. If you've got no passions, you've got no North Stars, no
Yeah.
purpose, like start with something that you're curious about.
Mm.
Like, are you interested in, I don't know, filming? Are you interested in acting? Are you interested in something like, do you like movies? Why do you like movies? Which bit do you like of movies? Do you like taking photos? Do you like the way that a car works? And then, kind of
Mm.
sprint forward from there and look at the roles potentially that you can apply to, you can start learning about, but
Yeah.
also maybe there's some of the roles that don't exist that you want. And that's
Mm.
like my mindset of, okay, I typically don't fit in with a 9 to 5. Um, and that for me is this real, I don't enjoy what I do on a daily basis in terms of my 9 to 5. I'm very
Mm.
open about that. And some people are like, you've got to enjoy what you do for the bulk of your day. I'm like, I don't. I genuinely don't. Primarily because it doesn't utilize me in the capacity that I feel I can be utilized. That's why I'm so involved with trying to like do everything else and trying to create all of these other things. Some people have businesses, some people do jewelry brands, some people act, some people have real estate, right? For me, it's creating content. For me, it's, running this business with my friends. And if anything else pops up, it's stuff that I'm curious about. But also be ignorant, I think, as well, is really important, right? Just your ego gets in the way of so much. And also, like, you've just got to be so open to just kind of taking opportunities and being like, screw it, why not? If I've got the financial capability to be okay with doing it, like, why not try it? Like, I'm sure with your being behind the camera, maybe there is some financial obligations that you've got to put some skin in the game, for instance. But you're curious about being behind the camera and seeing how that side works. So, and it plays off both, right? You're going to improve when you're on camera, and when you're on camera, you're going to improve when you're off camera, because you're going to start thinking about, oh, actually, this angle's better because it creates this scene in a more dramatic viewpoint. Maybe let's not have the crying in this particular instance. Let's show a different kind of emotion, like joyful tears instead of like pain tears. And so it feeds, everything begins to feed off itself. And when you start with curiosity, I think that's really important.
I love that point, actually, because that is very true. Because actually, when you
read it in a book somewhere,
I don't know, because when you strip it all back, it is that, isn't it? Like, because the whole reason, like, you do things like that is because you're curious about it, because you have a love for it. So yeah, I'd love that. I'm going to steal
Definitely.
that. Thank you.
I read it in a book. You know what? I think it might be. It's right behind me. I think it might be one of these guys, or Matthew McConaughey's one. Green Lights. I love that book. Definitely recommend it.
I need some good book recommendations. I need to hit you up for some. I just need to find the time to sit down and actually read.
Between those like 1 a.m. and 5 a.m. shoots, you could try it then.
Yeah, gosh. Yeah, I do need to. I need to start building in a bit of time for that. Actually, it's been a while since I've kind of curled up with a good book. It used to be very much part of my routine, but yeah, it hasn't been for a while. So yeah, that's prompted me to do that. So thank you.
No, my pleasure. I've got a question about legacy. And you're doing all of this stuff, right? Is there a reason you're doing all of it? Is there a bigger picture that you're looking at? Or is it very much like we said, it's just stuff you're interested in, and it just so happens to make you money?
Yeah, that's that's an interesting question, actually. Legacy. I believe in the whole concept of a legacy, but not from a sense that, from a personal viewpoint, like Tina Sharma is known for X, Y, and Z. But if I could do or create or change something that has a lasting impact to positively impact others, then that would be it for me. Not necessarily with a name attached to it or anything like that, but that would be one thing. And then, one day, like, and I have a family, and that sort of thing, it would be for, like, you just do it for your family and children and stuff like that. If I'm, blessed enough to have them, like, who knows? So yeah, I just think it's all for that, really. So to make a lasting impact on others, but then also for the family thing. And I think all of these kind of different lessons that I've learned and the traits that I have to kind of really be a go-getter, like, I would just want to really instill that behavior in someone, and just kind of, like, whether it be other people or my children or whatever, just because it's important to have that, to not worry about what other criticisms you might get along the way. Like, take the positives from any of that, but don't let it kind of detract from where you want to get to. I think that's so important to kind of leave for someone.
Do you ever think about going and setting up, I don't know, maybe like an acting school?
That'd be amazing.
Is that built into the vision of Tina Sharma? Or going back into schools and teaching how to build real estate empires? And is that something that's on your mind?
Yeah. So about the real estate stuff, so I've gone back to like my schools, and I've done a lot of talks in the past around the property piece and how to kind of build all of that and
You
different
have.
creative ways that you can make money from it. Yeah, I've absolutely done that. And also what I think's really important that I've gone back and done is, gone back to my old school about and done talks about financial education. Because I think in schools, they don't really give you those tools as, they teach you about all of these different things, which absolutely are important in the curriculum. But I think from a life experience point of view and how to manage finances or life or relationships and so relationships, okay, fine, that might be a little bit like depending on what age group you're working with, but I think there's that kind of life side of it that they don't kind of teach you. But the financial education thing, I guess obviously being in finance myself was, a big thing for me. So I've definitely gone back and talked about things like that. It's about mortgages, budgeting, and things like that of how to sort of manage that effectively. I think it's really important to know that from a young age. Like all too often, I speak to people, even going back a few years ago, similar age to me, that didn't really understand like how a mortgage works, and you're like, that's a pretty fundamental thing when you get to a stage when you want to buy a house. I'm not saying you have to know everything about everything, but they're pretty standard things that people do throughout their life cycle. So I think to have a basic knowledge of it is really important. So I think it's a good thing to do to instill that from a young age,
What's it been like?
for
What's it been
sure.
like dealing with kids and explaining this to them? What's that like?
So do you know, it just reminded me of how much of a little shit I was when I was younger. In all fairness.
Really?
I mean, you get the good ones,
Okay.
don't you? The angels, but I was a little bit of a tearaway, I'm not going to lie, a bit mischievous, but good
Right.
mischievous, and you got to have fun along the way, right? That's what life's about.
But do they not
So
even understand what you're saying when it comes to like when it comes to
yeah, so
explaining finance, or is it very much like all money?
you explain it in really basic terms, really, in terms of like budgeting and things like that, why it's important and how it will help them. Like I don't go into the nitty gritty about mortgages and stuff like that, but kind of just giving an overview so they kind of understand the process as such. And obviously, in terms of advice and all of that stuff, they can do, when it's time to do so. But I think it's just having that awareness of how to manage things effectively. I think it's good to have those habits. So yeah, you do get your tearaways that are just a little bit difficult, but then you just have to. I think serious Tina then comes into play, and I just have to, put the world to rights in that conversation.
That's really cool. I definitely want to start doing something like that. Maybe going in and talking to my old school about some of the things that people say about going to university and people say about when you get out of university. They just they hype it up a lot, and I feel that
Yeah.
you actually need more people speaking up about the fact that things aren't these things aren't what you see on social media. Things aren't what they seem when it comes to going to university, and especially now, like with the pandemic and everything,
Yeah.
things have changed. Like your university experience may or
Mhm.
may not be the same. It's going to be a different variation of it, and I feel that people are not
Completely.
prepared for
Yeah.
the fact that, or kids that are applying to unis are not prepared for the fact that that is the way it is going to be the way it was. It's not. It's going to be different. But also there are other opportunities that you can take. You can start a business from whatever age, and maybe that's the right thing for you rather than going to
Mhm.
uni. But even then, just having a conversation about what life is like is something that you have with your friends, but you then don't have with individuals that are always older than you, that have had a different wealth of experiences. But you only start having
Mhm.
that when you're older. And I feel that sometimes
Yeah.
you need to go in and have conversations, like really ruthless conversations, with regards to what life is really like, and not this kind of
Mhm.
self-made up fantasy
Fairy
that
tale.
people that schools sometimes push you into. Like university is the best time of your life. Well, no, it isn't always like that. And when you get those are the
Yeah.
best 3 years, and then when you get out, the rest of your life is this working, boring thing. No, it's not. It can be the other way round.
Mm.
Both can be great, both can be terrible. You just got to prepare yourself for the fact
Yeah.
that you are in control of what you're doing. You have that choice.
But it's because we're so conditioned to think that way, though, isn't it? Because when I think back of because I was studying
Right.
pharmacy back in the day, and that was going to be my life path, and I thought, that was a done thing to do, it was a good career, and all of that sort of stuff. So I got so far, and then thought, this really isn't for me. And then I went into finance and I set up a business when I was like 20, and got into the whole real estate thing. So then I thought, well, that's kind of what I wanted to do. And I was criticized a lot for that, thinking, how are you going to make that work? But, at a young age, not knowing, kind of the first thing about it. But I went in it and I learned it. But yeah, I just thought I'm not going to kind of go down that conditioned route. And I'm so glad I made that choice, because the situation I'm in now is amazing and I wouldn't want to change up the world. So yeah, let's not go with social conditions, and you've got to follow your heart. That's what it's all
No, I love
about.
that. That's going to add some good energy.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
perfectly kind of like rounded and summed everything up and hit the nail on the head. So will.
I've got a good way of doing
It's
that.
class, Yeah, might have to get you to host this extraordinary experience and not me. God damn, done a better job than I have.
I would actually love to have a podcast. I could be quite entertaining, as you know.
Why don't you just come and do a stint on the ordinary experience or the extraordinary experience? I'm going to get this right. And just like you can have a show underneath it.
Extraordinary
You can have a
experience.
show underneath it
Yeah.
that sits inside the brand and just be like, it's a Tina Sharma show. The Tina Sharma show.
I feel like I need to do like tea with
Tea
Tina.
with Tina. Yeah,
I feel like that's quite cute.
And just
Isn't
have
it?
a
I'm
wealth of
copywriting that.
I'll get there before you.
Yeah, but you can't do it without the tea. I'm like the tea.
You have to come and do it on the podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, I love that actually. I could do that.
Pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been awesome speaking to you.
No worries.
You've dropped some dimes, and I hope you've inspired, and hope the people listening like show that you can have so many things on the go and still be a normal human being. And you're doing amazing things. I think you're going to go on to do amazing things, directing, producing, script writing. You're going to have like the whole production just kind of silo just dominated. And I love what you're doing in terms of building the legacy and going in and talking to people, and the fact that you inspire the people around you is so awesome.
Thank you. I genuinely really appreciate that. That's very kind to hear. So thank you.
It's my absolute pleasure.
I'll speak to you
soon. And thank you so much for coming on. We'll definitely have to get you back on to talk some finance tips.
Yes, I'd love to actually. I'm all about that. So yeah.
Up then, all right. I'll speak to you soon. Thanks, Tina.
Perfect.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.